I actually had no intentions in talking about this topic again. In fact, the final segment in my predicting the confirmed fighters combatants was supposed to be my only statement on the likelihood of Tanjiro fighting Hyakkimaru in the next season of Death Battle. I thought that was it, but apparently I have to discuss this again. In case you are not sure on what I mean, after Saitama vs. Popeye, Screw Attack revealed a few confirmed fighters that will show up in the next season of Death Battle. And one of those characters is Tanjiro from Demon Slayer. So when I made my short prediction video, I said that the one I think that Tanjiro is more likely to fight is Hyakkimaru from Doro. It's a very popular match for both Tanjiro and Hyakkimaru, and both Demon Slayer and Doro have an established history with each other. So everything seemed perfectly fine and such. What could possibly be the problem? Well, that's simple. Because there's legit people who try to say otherwise, that Jonathan from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is somehow the one to face Tanjiro, when that isn't true. And the points they've tried to use on my statement is either not remotely accurate or is absolutely fucking stupid, and kinda confirms in my mind that half of these people who say stuff like this clearly has never watched Demon Slayer and don't understand Tanjiro's character. So I'm going to rebuttal those arguments that some of those people are making and explain why Tanjiro versus Hyakkimaru is more likely. One of the points I've seen people make, especially in my video, is that Tanjiro and Jonathan has decent connections. This is false, because as someone who has seen both Demon Slayer and JoJo's Part 1, I feel like it's either a basic surface level of both of their characters, or really misrepresents both Tanjiro and Jonathan. The most common connection I hear a lot from people is that both are kind-hearted people who fight with a breathing technique along with powers of the sun and trying to save their sibling from a curse. Now here's the problem I have with it. It's only half right. True, both Tanjiro and Jonathan are kind-hearted warriors with breathing techniques and can channel the power of the sun. However, that only implies their powers and personality. Everything else is badly mischaracterized. Jonathan's character is that he is the son of a man named George Joestar I in a pretty wealthy family. Jonathan's dream in life is to be a bona fide gentleman after saving a girl named Irina. Sometime later in this story, he meets his adopted brother, Dio Brando, after Dio's abusive father pushed Dio to the point of killing his dad for not only the abuse Dio's father did to him, but also to Dio's mother with a poison he got from a guy named Wang Chang. Tanjiro's character is a young boy living with a happy regular family in the snowy mountains next to a small town village where Tanjiro's main thing is selling charcoal because his family sells charcoal. During this time, Tanjiro sells charcoal to the people in the village to earn a bit of money. While doing such overnight, his family was brutally murdered by the distraught of Tanjiro. By devastation, he carries his sister, Nezuko, to find help and save her from blood loss. But before he can, Nezuko wakes up and becomes a demon, which then tries to kill her brother, Tanjiro. While trying to hold off against Nezuko, he breaks down in tears by the guilt he feels for not being there to protect not only his sister, but his family. He begs for his sister to hold on to the small bit of humanity she has left in her, which this also makes Nezuko break down in tears. The notion of Tanjiro and Jonathan somehow having similar stories is at best surface level to the most basic degree, and at worst fails to actually understand the character of both Tanjiro and Jonathan. Jonathan, realistically speaking, is just a guy born in a rich family who is nice and wants to be a true gentleman to everyone, while Tanjiro is a young boy who grew up with basically nothing but the clothes on his back, trying to provide for his family that he cares for. Tanjiro never had a goal of being something big or anything like that in the way that Jonathan did. Tanjiro's happy with the normal lifestyle that he had. It's only when his sister turns into a demon is when Tanjiro started to have a goal to save his sister. And while we're on the topic of siblings, the whole trying to save their sibling from a curse is painfully misrepresented. First of all, Dio is not even the brother of Jonathan. He's adopted, while Nezuko actually is the biological sister of Tanjiro. And secondly, Dio was never cursed to become a vampire. He willingly gave up his humanity to become a vampire in the first place, while Nezuko never chose to be a demon. It was by bad circumstances of a demon attack. If I had to sum up Tanjiro's whole character of what he's supposed to represent within the series, it would have to be the feeling of lost. Tanjiro's whole character is based on the concept of lost. Think about it. Tanjiro lost his family. He lost his sister by her turning into a demon, which is slowly losing her last remaining humanity. He loses almost everyone he cares about. He loses Rengoku, a fellow demon slayer that Tanjiro looked up to. He loses the other members of the demon corps. He loses his body parts. He loses his humanity by the hands of Muzan. His whole thing is based on the feeling of lost. He never asked for any of these things that happened. It's just what unfortunately happens, which also implies to Hyakkimaru. Hyakkimaru is a story of a man who lost what he had, born with a demon curse, and said demons literally took his body parts from birth. He was abandoned by his father, who also formed the pact with the demons that took his body parts. He loses the people of the village he grew up in, and a lot more dark shit for the series like Doro that I don't want to spoil for you. Hyakkimaru's character is also based on the feeling of lost. He never asked to have any of this happen. It's just what unfortunately happened. Both Tanjiro and Hyakkimaru are tragic characters, living in a world of demons, in a world where it's all bloodshed. But in the end, they push through it. Why? Because of their goal that they set for themselves, along with who pushes them more to reach that goal. Tanjiro and Hyakkimaru have similar goals. Tanjiro wanting to save his sister and get revenge on the one who killed his family and ruined his life. And Hyakkimaru wanting to get his body back and getting revenge on the ones who stole his body and ruined his life. And it's also thanks to Nezuko and Doro that makes Tanjiro and Hyakkimaru pushes themselves more to complete that. Tanjiro and Hyakkimaru's job is to not only do what they set out to do, but to also protect the ones that are pushing them to complete it, Nezuko and Doro. They are determined to complete that goal, even if they have to go through hell to do it. That's what Tanjiro and Hyakkimaru is all about. That's their character, and I feel like people just don't get that. Nowhere is Jonathan a tragic character like how Tanjiro and Hyakkimaru are. Jonathan had a great life. He never lived in misery. He never sought revenge on anyone. Even when Dio did all the bullshit he did. He's just a nice guy. Don't get me wrong, Jonathan is a great character. I'm not denying that. But he's not what people make him out to be. That's my point. And it's generally frustrating that people misrepresent Tanjiro's character in the way they do when a topic like this is brought up. One last thing I want to point out before I end this video. In my prediction video, I wrote in the comments that it's likely not Jonathan because they already used a JoJo character in the last season, being Dio in Dio vs. Alucard. And people tried to somehow dispute this by saying, but Screw Attack has used characters from the same series after they used one of them not that long ago. Let me tackle this because I think people failed to realize this. Outside of Marvel vs. DC matchups, since that's just the norm that Screw Attack does, they never used another character from a particular series after they just did one, especially when that idea was popular. There's always a certain span of time when they reuse a particular series again, and that's typically years later. Dio vs. Alucard is one of the most popular JoJo matchups in the lineup of JoJo matches. It would not make sense for them to use Jonathan, who isn't really a high request, compared to guys like Joseph, Jotaro, Josuke, Giorno, Jolin, Johnny, etc. Hell, I would even show you some of the more popular matches that I've seen being way more requested in JoJo than Jonathan is. It would make way more sense for them to use Hyakkimaru for Tanjiro, because not only is that Tanjiro's most requested matchup, but it also has the better theme, the better dynamic, the better everything, basically. Plus, it would help introduce a new series into Death Battle and help people get into Dororo like how they did with Afro Samurai, Yang Xiaolong, and so many more. So with that being said, thank you for watching this video. I'll be looking forward to see your thoughts on the topic and any other discussion about it. But until then, I'll see you guys next time.